Right, so we move on to bag I, and bag I is all about placing a servo in the car. We've got extensive components, plastic components and hardware, of course, and yeah, so you can see there's quite a lot here. And just looking through this bag I, the bag I actually goes steps 1 all the way through to step 14, so quite an involved bag. So we're all about chassis. So yeah, let me get all the components out and ready, and we'll tackle this step by step as usual. Okie dokie, so we're on bag I, and basically I've got all the components out. And one thing you'll notice about the Carisma kits is that well, there's no parts trees on plastic trees. You have all the plastic parts for you, and they're very good quality, of course, but they're all cut out for you and everything's just perfect, and you know, there's no flashings to remove or little nibbles to take off. And yeah, so that's one thing you'll notice about the Carisma kits is whilst you have all the plastic parts, they're already prefabricated for you, no messing around with parts trees. So we'll move on, get on to the first stages of bag I, and it's all about the servo. So I'm not teaching everyone how to neutralize their servo, but I've neutralized my servo using my radio that's going to go in, and placed the relevant horn, which is a 25 tooth horn, on here, and used the 3x8 screw to secure that. So that's ready for me, and I've also got the 3x6, so M3 by 6mm screws, panhead screws with a little washer ready for me, and the plastic component, which is basically the battery tray and the servo tray. Just a matter of screwing this together. And well, there you are, that's the servo in place. Just turn around so you can see. There you are. A little bit of a squeeze getting the 4 of them in, but managed to squeeze them in, no problem. We can move on to the next part of the step. So we move on to step 2 of parts bag I, and in this step 2 we're going to take the battery tray and servo assembly that we did. We're going to use this part here, and they're labelled, so you have to find the label on these ones. So we want front and we want left, so front and left, so they are labelled, so make sure you get the right one. We need the chassis rail, which is this guy here, if I can get it in shot. Make sure it's the right way around, so we want the 3 holes here on this side, because obviously there's 2 of those. And then we need this part here, and it actually says, although we're on step I, this is from bag J. So let's pop ourselves into bag J, and that's going to be this part. We're going to need from here, that's this one. So we'll open that up and get the right part that we need. So make sure that's the right one. So I believe it is that one. I think they're the same, in fact. Yeah, they're the same. Yeah, they're identical, so they're the same. So that's one of those. So that's from bag J, and then some hardware, which is the 3x8mm screws and these flathead screws, which are 3x10, and we screw them in and place it all together. So a quick adjustment to that part from bag J is this one here, not this one here as I thought it was. So yeah, it's a quick adjustment there. Look, so make sure you get the right one. Just double check and study the drawing. So yeah. So here we go, you can kind of see these are the 3 of the 3mm by 8mm. These are the button head, or the pan heads, whatever you want to call them, and these are the 3mm by 10mm countersunk ones with this front L. This is going to be your suspension up and your body mount upright, and I'm just going to screw these in, but I'm not going to force them all the way home. because we've literally got the rest of the chassis components to go around the other side of this rail. So just in case I need a little bit of wriggle room, and then what I'll do is once I've got everything in place, I'll then go down and nip up everything so it's all nipped up. And again, just a pre-warn here, really don't go mad. You just need to nip this up so it's finger tight, because you're screwing into the plastic. Alrighty, yeah, we'll carry on. So we've got ourselves ready for step 3, and we've got our front upper link. This is the one that is 67.5 mils between the two end joins, and our rear upper link, which is the 47, I think it was, 48.5, whatever it was. You have to go, if you go back to the main drawing, it'll tell you. So we've got a main central gearbox holder. We've got our end skid, side skids here, these little brackets as well, and the main chassis. So it's a case of now using the 3mm by 12 to fasten into these into the gearbox holder, and the 2.5 by 14s which will go through and attach the skid plates on the side. So quite straightforward. And there we have it. That's the front upper rod link, the rear upper rod link, and the skid plates for the side attached, and it's attached like so, and yes, you do have to put a little bit of thread lock on these screws that go through here and attach to the ball joint at the other end. So careful not to get it on the plastic, just on the ball joint at the other end. So I tend to put the screw through and then put a little bit of thread lock on, so it's just going into the metal only. There we are. So we move on from step 3 of bag I to the next step. So moving on to step 4 of bag I, and we need to grab some more components. So again, we've got this tray, we've got this support structure, we've got the this is from bag J, so we have to go back into bag J and get this one, and then a little bit of hardware. So it says on the side here a 3mm by 8mm button head screw, yet in the drawing it refers to the M3 by 8mm as a flathead screw. Now the flathead screw is actually 10mm, so M3 by 10mm. So yeah, I'm kind of going to be going by this here. So this one here kind of matches what was on the front when you're bolting through here, bolting through the end. That was a button head on the front, so I'm going to copy that. Yeah, so screw these bits together and screw them into the chassis in the relevant holes. Oh, and making sure you get the left rear of this one again. So, but it's marked on them left rear. Okay, very easy otherwise. And there you are, nice easy step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws done, nice and easy. Now we've done step 4, we can now move on to step 5 of bag I. Okie doke, and we move on to step 5 of bag I, and that technically is removing the, or it's not removing, changing the chassis around. So we now swapped it around, so we now have it the front this side and the rear this side, and we put the other side of the chassis rail on, the front uprights for the suspension, and the body posts holder. Again for the rear, these 2 little brackets that go in the center, and the hardware necessary to screw to the corresponding sides that we've already done. So it's a case of just running around, putting a whole load of screws on the side and the chassis rail. Nice straightforward step. Just got to make sure you put the right screws in the right place. So you've got the I call them the countersunk, so they call them the flathead, but the countersunk. So you need 4 of those to go where these bolt onto, and the panhead ones everywhere else. Right, I'll get on and get that screwed into place. And just a little note on how I've done this. So I've gone along this side of the chassis, and all I've done is put all the screws into place. So you've got the 3 at the front, these 2 countersink ones for the upright, this is for the cable management, cable holders, so these in the middle, again these countersunk ones for the rear, and this one at the back. I'll put them all in loosely so that everything lines up. Just make sure the whole chassis lines up nicely, which it does. So I'll now go down and tighten them all up, but not too tight that you strip out the screws. Just be careful, finger tight. And there we are, that's step 5 completed. I've run down on these and just make sure these are all nipped up. Start from the middle and work my way out. What I'm going to do is go around the other side as well and just make sure the corresponding ones are equally nipped up so everything is nice and tight and rigid. But again, just doing this very carefully by feel. Make sure you don't over tighten. You just want everything to be nice and tight and taut, and you don't want to strip anything out. Okay, and then we can move on to the next step, which is basically putting the sliders on like we did here with these little brackets, screws, and our top front and rear top links. Okay, and we move on to step 6 now, and much the same as we did on the other side. We need our upper front link. This is 67.5mm in between the two. We need our rear upper link. This is the 48.5mm here. We need our slider, outrigger. We need these little brackets that go on, and we need a little bit of hardware. Of course, 3x12mm on this side, a little bit longer, and the 2.5x14mm. These are the pan heads, or what they call them, button heads, but same sort of thing. It's just a case of, again, screwing this into the chassis. Nothing major. Only thing you need to do here is with these little 3x12mm ones, because they go through here on this side, they go through this connection here, they need a little bit of thread lock on there. So just be careful when you're putting the thread lock on, make sure you only get it on the metal bit. But other than that, straightforward. And there we go, that's step 6 complete. That's the other side, including the top links, are all in place now. Right, we can carry on. It's starting to look like a chassis. I do like these Carismas. Everything is so precise, and the manuals are very good. Actually, they are very good. Yeah, let's crack on. And this is now step 7 on bag I. We need a couple of pieces of hardware, so the 3x8mm button head screws and the 3x18mm button head screws. Here it just makes your attention, note orientation, and you can see the orientation. I've got the servo at the front and the battery tray here at the front, and it then also says make sure that you place the gearbox with the motor facing forward. So here's our gearbox, and here's our motor facing forward. So we're going to be slotting this into the central mount and screwing this into place. Oh, wow, look at this. This is looking looking so much like a chassis now. Wow, wonderful. Excellent. Let's get on and put this in. And here we have step 7 complete. The gearbox and motor assembly is now in the center part of the chassis. Oh, getting excited now. Right, move on. Right, we'll continue on. Step 8 of bag I. This involves the chassis that we have made and our rear axle and a couple of pieces of hardware. This 3x30mm pan head, well, button head, and this they call it a grub screw. So it's a screw pin. So it's sort of like a pin with a screw thread at this end, and this is to attach the drive shaft. Okay, simple case of screwing this in and capturing the two upper links. They slot in here, and this screw will technically go through and capture like this, and we'll screw this because it's threaded this end. Quite simple step. So just to help on here, what I've done is I've literally turned it upside down. So I'm working, although the drawing says this way around, like that. It's pretty hard to work like that. when you've got to put in the screw pin to the drive shaft. So just turn it around upside down, and you can even use the screw upside down as well. So yeah, so I've done that. So I've turned it upside down. Now we just got to locate this. Yep, so on the rear, that's what you'll get. You'll get something like that. So we've attached the shaft and we chapped and the top links. We can now move on to the next stages. Step 9. So we move on to step 9, and step 9 of bag I involves some hardware, namely this button head, which is a M3 by 23. We've got a M3 by 20. This one that's rolled around is an M3 by 16. We need a washer. We need this spacing collar. We need one of your dampers from right at the very start of the build. And this is the rear lower link. And this one is the one with 71.5mm space in between here. And it's a case of putting this all together as per the drawing, placing this underneath, screwing these pins and things through. Yeah, quite a simple step. So again, I'll do that. So just a little note on here. So we're trying to put the bottom arm in at the same time as here, and the drawing's a little bit I think the drawing's wrong. The drawing sort of shows you putting this on the outside here, but as you can see, that doesn't bode well. If I turn this upside down, you'll see more. So the drawing says put this here. That's kind of how it shows the drawing here. Now we want that inside. That's where it goes. It goes inside, because if you look at these sit inside perfectly, and then you put the longer M3 by 23 through, and you collect both. That's the idea. So just make sure there's the dampers on the outside of the. There you go. There you go. And then just get that in there so it goes in there. There we are. And then we can just pop that through, and then we can screw that tight. Okay, that's how it sits. If you look at that sits right. Okay, that sits right. There we are. So yeah, the drawing's a bit misleading. That's how you do it. So now we've done step 9. We're going to repeat for step 10 for the other side. So we're technically bottom, lower arm, and another damper, and that'll be the back end completed there. So same sort of thing again. And there we are again. So we've now done on the other side for the rear, lower rear arm, again through with the 23mm M3, so that's all nice and tight through there, and the shock mounted on the shock mount. Okay, so that's now done. That's step 10. We can move on, and it's pretty much the same again as we've done for here for 8, 9 and 10. We're going to be doing for the front, putting the gearbox front axle on, attaching everything to the gearboxes, attaching the lower arms, attaching the upper arms, attaching the suspension. Similar, same thing. So again, we turn our attention to step 11, and we need again this screw pin and this larger of the M3, which is 30mm long. Going to take our front axle, and place it in, slotting the top upper links into this section here of the axle, and a little bit of thread lock on this little pin. So again, be careful, not too much thread lock, just enough to lock it in place. So we'll get that done, and I'll come back and show you. So there you go, there you have it. this little screw here, the pin in, and the upper links are connected to there. There we go. So that's all that bit. So we can move on to the next step, which is step 12, which is putting the dampers on and not forgetting the lower links. And there we have the hardware. Oh, there we have the hardware. We've got the 16mm long M3 button head, the 20mm M3 button head, and the 23mm M3 button head, a washer, the spacer for the damper, our lower link, and our damper. And it's much the same as we did with the rear of the car. We do the same again for this front corner and repeat again for the other side of the front. So I shall show you, get it done and show you. And there we are, we finished step 12, which is putting that suspension in, the bottom link, and if I can get it in there, again, just making sure that they are the correct way around. There you are. So we move on to the next step, which should probably be the other side of the front. All right, here we go. And we move on, still bag eye, step 13. This is the last side for suspension, so this is going to be the front again, and here's my suspension, here's my damper, again my M3 by 16, my M3 by 20, with my M3 washer and this coupler which goes through the top of the suspension, and the M3 by 23, along with our lower rod that we made and our chassis. So it's a case again just screwing these into place, quite straightforward, and yeah, making sure again not too tight so that you strip out the plastics. Let's put this together and I'll show you the result. So I'm going to work upside down so that you can see. So I've put on the damper first of all, which is here, just loosely put it on the top. So what we need to do is we do need to put the chassis upside down, so you do have to work upside down a little bit. Take the 16, the M3 by 16, and you slot the lower link into this section here, and it's just a case of getting that into the slot that's on the chassis, and then place the M3 through, and it's just position that so that it goes through the hole. There we are. Gently does it, of course, and then you screw this through. Let's see if I can get you this on the camera without knocking and making you judder. So you take your driver, and the idea is, and this is screwing into this section here. Right, and then now we've done that, we need to take our bottom of our damper and the other side of the bottom link. They need to slot together in this space here. I think I'm going to do is slot one in first. Again, there we go. Always the case when you're doing it on camera. Slot that in there, all the way through. And again, once it's all the way through, take your driver . So that's tight, and what I'm going to do is spin that back around over the top, because the only one I didn't tighten up was this top one. And there you have the top one. There we are. Now that's tight. There we go, that's step 13 completed. And for step 14 of bag eye, we need to take our M3 by 12 and we need to attach our steering linkage to the servo arm. So again, I'm going to pop the chassis upside down to do this. Okay, and it's probably looking at the last one. So it's a case of we need to pop this round and attach it through there. So it won't be a moment. Right, so let's take our M3, pop it through ready. There we go, until it comes through. Right, now we come through, and a case of screwing onto the bottom arm of our servo arm. There we go, done. That's done. Like that, like so. You can see, yeah, there you are. So that's bag I now completed. We've got a chassis that, well, looks like a chassis. Right, we carry on.